We have the pleasure today of welcoming Bobby today to our interview series, Leaders Hum. I'm Aishwarya Jain from the peopleHum team. Before we begin, just a quick intro of peopleHum. peopleHum is an end-to-end, one-view integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Cody Award for HCM that is specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work with AI and automation technologies. We run the peopleHum blog and video channel, which receives upwards of 200,000 visitors a year and publish around 2 interviews with well-known names globally every month. And now for our guest, Bobby Umar is a leading employee engagement consultant and a highly sought-after TEDx speaker and leadership coach. He's been listed as one of the top most influential speakers in leadership by global organizations. He's the president of Realin and the CEO of DYPB, Discover Your Personal Brand. Known for his great capabilities to connect and build relationships, we are sure a person of his experience and such expertise will be able to give the best experience to our viewers. Welcome, Bobby. We're thrilled to have you.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here.
So, Bobby, your experience, from the beginning, from an aerospace design engineer to a motivational, so I'm sure your journey has been interesting and rich. Can you take us through some moments and learnings along the way?
Wow, that's a big question. I mean, for the most part, yes, I've tried many different things, and one of the biggest learnings of that is that it's okay to keep trying to figure out what you want to do. And another big learning is that we often follow a path of success defined by other people, and we don't actually think about what we really want. So I originally went into engineering because my father said that engineering and physics and math was a good thing. So you should do that. It's a good job. So that's what I did. But I didn't think about whether I would enjoy it or not. And then after I left engineering, I went into marketing, brand marketing. I did an MBA in marketing because I thought I seem to like people. So maybe I try marketing. Marketing seems like a people thing. Let me do that. And I did that, but then again, after 3-4 years, I wasn't as into it as much. It wasn't the type of environment I preferred. And then I also dabbled in performing arts because I like to be on stage and like to, showcase my talents and sing and dance and act and things like that. And I thought, okay, maybe I could do that. But then, I don't think I was as good as I could have been, or didn't have the ability to really build that up. And so finally, I decided to dive into my personal brand and figure out what does I really want to do. And in doing so, I discovered several things about myself, and also several things that other people saw of me. And it came down to 5 things I learned about myself, which is one is I love people. I love to nurture, like my mother. I like to perform and present. I like to persuade and influence, and I like diversity. I get bored easily, so I like diverse activities, diverse tasks. And because of that, it told me that here are a few dozen options I could do, but I chose to become a professional speaker. And that has been something that people have been telling me for years. Hey, Bobby, have you thought about being a speaker? Oh, I don't know. And I had thought about being a teacher, and I'd done a lot of stuff with people, but I never actually fully pursued it. And once I did that whole process, and it's very empowering to do a personal brand process, because what happens is another big learning with the personal brand process is that when you get the feedback of other people, and you get your own feedback, and you get the feedback of online assessments, and all 3 of them say the same thing, then it's probably a pretty good sign that that's what you are. And so it was very empowering to me to say, yeah, I think I would do well. So let me just do this and go for it. And, that was almost 15 years ago, and I haven't looked back. So for me, having been a speaker, it's been a lot of fun. Now, along the journey, things have changed. In the beginning, I was talking about leadership and soft skill development, but then I started to become known for different things. First thing I became known for was being a networking guru, how to build relationships, how to connect with people at live events or at work. And then later on, I got known for doing personal branding, how to brand yourself and create a promise that people remember you for. And then finally, I became a social media influencer where I got over 500,000 followers, and I became known as someone who creates digital community, digital marketing, and leverages the online presence to create many, many followers. Now, along the way, one of the things I've learned is that it's important for us to continue to build a thought leadership brand around who we are. So the social media piece, the networking piece, the creating content piece has all been about trying to build that brand for myself. And I also help other people do the same thing. The second thing that I've learned along the way is that you have to evolve and learn and grow all the time. It doesn't just stop when you do one thing. So a perfect example of that was the speaking, because when I first launched my speaking career, I had three main speeches. So I had three main speeches I would deliver. And then I started getting feedback from people, and pretty soon it evolved and changed to the networking piece, and it evolved and changed to the personal branding piece. So I was always listening to change things. Similarly, my mission and my vision and my why statements along the way, they've adjusted, evolved over the years, because I'm listening and getting feedback and changing and growing. And even now, during this this current pandemic of COVID-19, I've had to completely be willing to change and shift things, because as a professional speaker, my bread and butter is going to events, going to companies live and deliver training and deliver keynotes. But that's not happening anymore. So now a lot of it's virtual. And while virtual is great, I also, now I'm looking to do more virtual stuff, but I'm also doing more coaching and training, coaching and consulting online, because that's the way the world is shifting right now. And I'm not sure when it's going to come back. And even if it does come back, it may not be, the world may be a little bit different. It may be more virtual than normal, than we're used to. And so I have to adjust that now as we're going along. So to me, that evolution piece is a key function of leadership. You have to continually learn and grow, listen to people, take feedback, take advice, take constructive criticism, because no one's perfect. And then other lessons along the way that I've learned is time management and balance, of life balance. I'm a big proponent of parenting. So I have two young children, they're 9 and 11. And I normally focus a lot of time and energy to them. And I'll give it, actually a perfect example was when I went to India. So the first time I went overseas for a long trip was actually in England. And I had a 5-day training session that I was delivering. And I decided to tack on time before and after, just to do like a trip through Europe. And I was gone for 11 days. And I missed my kids terribly. It was just really, really bad. I missed them so much. I was like, oh, what do I do? Why am I here? I'm having fun, but I still miss them. And so I decided after that, no matter where I went, I would only go for a short period of time. So when I went to India, I went to Mumbai. I went for 4 days. And people were like, Bobby, you're going to India. Go for 2 weeks. I'm like, no, you know what? I'm going to make the most of my Mumbai trip, but I miss my kids. I want to spend as much time as I can, because when they grow up, they're gone. Then I can go to India for two months if I want. Yeah. Similarly, if you're a parent and you have young kids, they don't care whether you make an extra $20,000 per year. They don't care whether you are the next senior vice president and have to work long hours. What they care about is, number one, were you there for me? And that's the main thing they care about, actually. And so, because, and then pretty soon they'll be teenagers and maybe don't want me around as much, but I'll still try to be around, but then they'll be gone. And then I have another 20, 30 years of my life. What am I going to do then? Then I can go for that vice president role. Then I can go, work long hours if I choose to do that. Then I can go away for long periods of time because they won't be around anymore. So I'm huge with that, being mindful of how we balance our time. And then, the other thing I'll say along the way, and this actually applies even now during the pandemic, is we all have dark days or bad days or bad weeks or bad months. And it's just a question for us to understand that we should embrace the fact that these things happen. It makes us human. We should look to people for support and ask for help, because that takes courage. And, tomorrow's another day. And it's okay. Every single one of us, even myself, I'm a motivational speaker, but I still have bad days. And even in this whole pandemic, I had a bad day last week because I got so little work done. I was like, wow, I'm just so distracted and I'm so overwhelmed, and the kids are distracting me and I can't do anything. And I was getting frustrated with myself. But, I was like, okay, fine. Let me just take a breather. Tomorrow, let me just start again. And I think that's something that almost every single person out there needs to understand is normal and human, and there are ways to get around that. So, it's been a great career, and I've really enjoyed. I especially love being on stage and inspiring people. Whether it's thousands of people, I definitely love to see the impact I have on people finding more focus and clarity in their lives or their professional journeys, or taking the stuff that I'm using or saying and they're using it and applying it to their own lives. I mean, that's my ultimate goal. I mean, which again goes back to the other lesson around personal branding, which is, every single one of us wants to build a legacy. We want to have some sort of impact. So how do we do that impact? Now, my number one legacy is my children. So these two young boy and girl, and that my hope is they'll grow up to be productive global citizens who are happy, fulfilled, and make an impact in the world. That's my, for me, that's my first legacy. My second legacy is people like you out there who I'm trying to inspire, encourage, nurture, support, and help you learn and grow and evolve as a leader and create the impact that you want and the fulfillment that you want in your lives. And for me, that's something that drives and fuels me every single day. I'll add one more thing too, which is, parenting is one thing. The other one is like parenting, family, close friends is good. The other thing is health. So I've always struggled with my weight, and I'm diabetic. And I've also learned along the way that a healthy me and a better me is a healthier and better everything else. It affects everything. It affects my family, my friends, my business, my work, because I have more energy. I have more, I live longer, like all these different things. So that's another thing that I've learned along the way, to not ignore so much, and take good care to try to make it better. And, like I started doing a journey last year where I've lost 40 pounds and trying to get healthier. The pandemic hasn't helped. I'm probably gaining a little weight, but, be more mindful of things. And I think health is also another thing along with parenting that you have to realize. And I think people are not realizing what is most important to them in terms of the connections that matter, their health, things they really care about.
So yeah, we've got to be mindful of that too. And tell me something, you like networking, you like people, and you like to build relationships. So what's at the crux of this? What do you think is the main factor while networking and building relationships?
Yeah, so the reason I like it so much is because I'm a people person, I'm an extrovert, and people have had a profound impact on my life. Now, what we should all realize is that people will always have an impact on your life, no matter what type of person you are, whether you love people or don't like people, or you're shy or you're bold, introvert, extrovert. People matter, right? Because you're going to have to work with people. You're going to have to gain customers who are people. You're going to have to build communities that are people. You're going to have to live in a community with people. You have to go grocery shopping with people there. People are everywhere. So you have to learn to navigate people in your life, because they're going to empower you and empower you and support you along the way. So, one of the things I think is important for all of us to invest in is to get better at relationship building and networking skills, whether it's online or in real life. And part of it just comes from, having a better mindset around, having a curiosity about people, to understand their story. And, if you want people to help you, then you should be someone who's willing to help others. So I think, one of my philosophies of networking is give without expectation. I just go to events, or I go online and I see if I can offer value to people as much as I can. The second thing I'll always do is that every single person has a story. So when I talk to people, I'll say, okay, what is I want to find out what their story is. What's their background? Where they're from? What do they care about? And things like that. And I find that works really well. It works really well to do that. And then the biggest thing I'll say with networking is asking the question, how can I help you make a difference? So a lot of people say, oh, how can I help you? That's one thing. But I also say, how can I help you create that impact that you want? And that could be something as simple as, well, maybe you want me to connect you to somebody. Maybe you want me to give you some advice on this. Maybe I can send you some information. Maybe I can, help you out with your event. But I like to see, how can I help people make a difference and impact with what they're doing. And when you ask that question, most people are taken aback with, whoa, what? Oh, that's I haven't thought about that. What should I say? I don't know. Wow, can I get back to you? And that's probably the most popular response. Can I get back to you? And you know what's interesting? Most people don't get back to me, which is okay. At least I put on the table that, hey, I'm happy to help you, but most people just forget, or they don't realize. Because they don't realize how genuine this offer is. I'm willing to help. One person said, hey, can you connect me to somebody? I said, sure, and I did. And hey, we're all busy people, but if I could do it, I wouldn't ask if I couldn't do it. And if they ask me something that I can't do, I'll say. They'll say, well, can you spend 100 hours on this? No, I can't really do that, but maybe I can do this, and I'll come up with suggestions. So, relationship building and networking is going to be part of our lives, even while we're in social isolation. You totally need to build connections. And even more so, take time to book Skype calls and Zoom calls, to book people to chat, to FaceTime them, and just have conversations as often as you can.
Yeah, that's quite insightful. Nobody's actually talked about it like that. And you talk a lot about stories and making a legacy and finding your purpose, what is your calling, right? And you also say that we all are lost in some way, and probably a lot of us are not even aware that we are lost. So what do you think is the main issue here? Why are we so lost? And if we are, how do we fix that?
Well, yeah. So I mean, my why statement is something that drives me, and it's called "There are lost, stuck, or unfulfilled leaders everywhere." And what that means is, everywhere I go, I meet people who feel lost in their career, or stuck in their job, or unfulfilled in their relationships, or their purpose. And the reason this happens is for many things. One is, again, success is often defined by people other than ourselves. So it's defined by our parents, by corporations, by society that say, here's what success means. But we have to define our own kind of definition of success. The second thing that happens is most of us don't take the time to dive in and understand our personal brands. And so in doing so, we end up saying, well, I'm good at math, so let me do engineering. Or, I love animals, so I'm going to go to medical school and become a veterinarian. But that's not really, it's too broad. They don't really go deep enough to think about these things. And so they go into these things, and the next thing you know, 5 years in, they're unfulfilled. And so I think those are probably the two biggest reasons that stop us. They follow a path of success defined by the people, or they don't take the time to really understand who they are, what drives them. And then later on, when they finally figure that out, okay, now let me go on this path. And the other thing that happens too is after you've done something for 5 years and you're not happy about it, you say, oh, well, maybe I'll try this one. But again, they try a second thing without even thinking about what are the values, interests, passions, skills, personality traits that drive who I am as a person. And if they just did that effort, and it doesn't take that long. It takes, like 20, 30 hours of time. But if you're willing to invest that 20, 30 hours of time, would that help you get 50 years of fulfillment and happiness? I think it's a great investment to have, but you have to invest that time and energy into it. Yeah, but I would say that most people have to do it in a more formalized way. Wouldn't that you I have a whole signature methodology for discovering your personal brand. So I take people through that kind of specific journey. But it's good to get a coach or get a course or something to kind of help you figure that out, because it's very hard to do it on your own. It really is. Like if I want to lose 50 pounds, or if I want to become super fit, there's tons of information out there that I could, look at and look at. But would I be successful? 9 times out of 10, I would not be successful. It's the same thing with academics, same with fitness, same with personal branding, same with career. Getting a course or program or coach or an advisor, a mentor, these are really important tools that you can use to help you that focus, that accountability, and then 10x the results you.
Right, because you need the right kind of guidance, and you need to filter the noise from the music. And how effective do you think people are connecting at this time of pandemic?
Yeah, I think this is a very difficult time for people, because now that we're, let's say, 3 weeks in, we're starting to get a bit squirrely, antsy. People are starting to have darker feelings or darker emotions about things. That's why it's so important actually to reach out to people. So there's different things you can do. One is, of course, is to have a routine around your social connections, right? So you could have this thing where every Saturday I'm going to call 3 people. Every Monday I'm going to call. Every morning even I'm going to call 1 person, and you set up a series of calls so that you keep yourself socially engaged with people that matter to you, both the personal people in your life, so friends and family, and then the people that you want to work with and things like that. So that's one thing. The second thing is looking to find a collaboration with people. I had 3 calls just yesterday, all about collaborating. So one was we want to do like a meetup, a Zoom meetup with about 100 people in May. So we're working on that. Another one was a guy said, hey, I want to work with you. Let's collaborate. Let's do like a mastermind, about 10, 20 people, and let's chat. I said, sure. We'll just talk about what we're going through. I'm like, yeah, that's great. And then actually the other one is that I'm actually planning tonight for my daughter, who's 9, a virtual sleepover pajama party. And so what she's doing, I reached out to all the parents. I said, look, the kids were going to have a party and didn't happen. Let's get them on Zoom, the 5 of them, and they can put on their pajamas, they can tell stories, and they can have a dance party, just laugh, whatever. Just talk to each other for like an hour and just be silly. And I think that's great. Like, let's just do that. And I think so that's an important piece. So one is to plan those social things that you can do. The other thing is to be courageous in asking to make these things happen. A lot of people are, oh, I don't want to bother people. People are stressed out about the pandemic and I don't want to disturb them. But, all you got to do is ask. Just say, listen, I think it'd be great to connect. It'd be great to just, let's just talk. Have the courage to ask to do this because it's going to really drive home some really good impact. The other thing that might help people too is when it comes to networking is seek out events to network at, because now a lot of people are doing a ton of webinars, online summits, and things like that. It's a chance for you to get out there and leverage social media. Social media, has its good and bad points, but the two best things about social media is amplification of your message, and it's accessing anybody, anywhere, anytime. And that's the huge benefit around that process. So it's important to leverage that and to use that. And then I think the last thing I would say in this time of social distancing that you can do is create content. Take the time to make content, create content, and put it out there. Share your message, share your thoughts, share what you're going through. Because sharing content, whether it's a video or a live stream or a webinar or whatever it is, even a blog post, it's about sharing your message to start conversations. And starting conversations is also what's going to make you feel socially connected and socially relevant. And one thing I'll say about introverts, as an introvert, if you are an introvert, and I know I work with a lot of introverts, the best thing introverts have is they're good at preparing things and organizing things. So you can prepare the email you want to send, you can prepare the messages you want to create, and then send those out. You can plan it the way you want it on your own terms, as opposed to things being forced upon you. So introverts can do really well at that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what about leaders? How should leaders connect to their employees at this point in time?
Well, I think the first thing leaders need to do is let them know that they will support their employees as best they can. Like, be upfront. Say, look, we're all going through this, and I'm here to let you know that I'm here to support you any way I can. So I had a team meeting with my DYPB Discovery Personal Brand team. There was about 15 of us on a Zoom call. It was great. It was cool to have everyone on the call. And I said, let me just start off by telling you that it's really hard. We're all going through, but I'm here for you. And if any of you want to reach out to me, you want to talk or anything, I'll make myself accessible because, hey, I'm home, so let's do it. And I let them know that I want to support them as best I could. I think that's the first thing they do. The second thing that a leader needs to do is then assess the situation. Now, given what's going on, what can we do about this? How can we navigate this? And I think it's important, again, to let your team have a voice and say, listen, we're in this together. Let's figure out a way to get through this together and to formalize a plan of how we're going to navigate this right now, both short-term and long-term. And I think that when you empower your employees to have them be involved in the decision-making and coming up with the solutions, I think they're going to be more invested in trying to do the best thing. And then I think the third thing that leaders need to do, this is the hard one, which is admit their own vulnerability. Admit what is challenging for them, what they're struggling with, whether it's dealing with all the family of being at home or with the kids or whatever they're dealing with. Because I think it's going to have an emotional toll on everybody, including every leader that's out there. Excuse me. And so, yeah, they need to be mindful of the mental health aspect of this thing and just be open and authentic and vulnerable about what they're going through. A lot of leaders, struggle to show that kind of, they call it weakness, but I call it strength. I was very upfront with my team about, what I'm finding difficult about the situation. But then I also here's how I'm trying to adapt and how I'm trying to evolve and deal with this thing. And I think that works really well to create relatability. It makes you more human. And when you're more relatable and more human and more vulnerable, then people are willing to band around you and lift you up. And I think that's really important for leaders and organizations right now.
If you show them your vulnerabilities, I think it just creates a better connection, and it will deepen your relationship with your team. And do you think that the way we work is going to change now after the coronavirus is going to end?
Well, the people that are saying that it's definitely going to change, and the ones that say that it's not going to change at all, I don't buy that for a moment. There's really no way for us to know what's going to change or how it's going to change. I mean, we can predict things. I mean, I think the general sense, because right now we're all still in wait and see mode. Like, we don't even know how this is going to play out the next couple of months, or even for the next year or a bit. I mean, there are going to be some trends that are going to happen. Like, obviously, we're going to learn how effective or ineffective we are at working from home. So one of the big shifts going to be is, how many companies are going to allow their employees to work from home, and do they, if employers are really good at it, then the company might say, yeah, let's do more of this. If they're really bad at it, they say, no, you need to come to work. And so I think that there's going to be a huge analysis of that. The second thing that's going to happen is, of course, when we look at gatherings and events and things like that, how good are we at that, and how often do we need to meet live? I mean, those who say that all public events and live trainings, live workshops, and conferences are going to be canceled completely, I don't buy that at all, because if you look at the data and look at the statistics from learning development, it's always better statistically to train, learn, and do that in live sessions. So live training is better than online training. Live events and conferences are better than online conferences and events. They're always better, because in person is far more impactful and more engaging, and therefore you learn better. So there's still going to be a need for people to do that. I think people are definitely have a need to meet in person, create community, have a sense of teamwork and bonding. So I think that's going to come back. To the extent of which it comes back, that I don't know. I think that there's going to be a shift there. The other thing I think that might happen is the idea of looking at crisis management, right? So how do we handle crisis? How do we handle crisis as a government, as a nation, as companies? What do we have in store for this in case something like this happens again? Because for me, one question that isn't coming out there very much, but I'm 49 years old, and I've never seen anything like this in my life, where I've had to stay home for weeks to months and months. That's never happened before. So my first question that comes to my mind is, if things are progressing worse and worse with different viruses and diseases, when's the next one? Is there going to be another one next 2 to 5 years where we're home for another 6 months again? Is this going to be the new normal, that there's a virus that just mutates, comes out there, and and we have to deal with it? So my personal feeling is that it's going to happen again. There's going to be another one out there. Like, they'll certainly analyze the process and have pandemic measures in order and do the best they can. But I think that this one was really hard to control, because people didn't express symptoms for days and days and days, and by that time they've already gone on to other stuff, and you don't find out for a while, and so it was very difficult to control that stuff. So I'm like, what's the next one? So that we have to look at all our systems and processes and emergency measures to deal with this stuff. And then the last piece is, as a business, what are we doing to take our business so that it's I don't want to say crisis proof, but we have to look at ways, like as a speaker, my business is completely either decimated or completely shifted. So I have to, and luckily for me, I already built some online programs and some coaching, but for my speaker friends who haven't done that, yeah, they've got nothing for a year. I mean, at least I have some online programs that I can start pitching to people and things like that, but they have nothing. So you have to create a business that can handle things that are virtual, and create a business model that works even during times of crisis.
Yeah, I think a lot of organizations and businesses, they were just not ready for this. And I was just, throwing yourself into a shark pond, and you just have to swim and you have to survive. And it's getting difficult even to take a breath, So I think...
I'll give you a good example too. I'll give you a good example. I just got an email from Cineplex, which is basically the movie theater chain in Canada. And, they're all closed. No one's going to movies, right? And so they say, well, we're going to give you all these movies, digital downloads, which is fine. But the problem is, they're competing with Netflix and Apple TV and Hulu, and it's so difficult for them. I don't know how they're going to be able to navigate that, but yeah, I mean, it makes sense. That's what they should be doing. but they have to find a way to just get people on board, because they have to find a way to say, look, if you want the newest movie before it's even released on Netflix, here's what we'll do for you. But they got to make us an offer we can't refuse. And right now, I think they're struggling.
Yeah, I know. It's just so sad. You're looking at these organizations crumble, they're really, really struggling. Yeah.
Yeah, but my heart goes out more to the small businesses, Apple and Cisco and all these, Google and Facebook and all these companies, they're all going to survive. They'll be fine. Even like Walmart, they're all going to survive. It's the small ones, the mom and pop shops, the small business owners, the ones with employees of 10 employees or less. That's those ones. And then of course anyone below that who is not working or is unemployed or single parents. Like, I care more about the vulnerable people. They're the ones that we need to support. Like I understand the need to inject some money and stuff into companies and businesses, but I also think that you need to take care of the most vulnerable people on your planet. So it's also shifting the mindset of people. Like now in the U.S., for example, they're finally realizing that, hey, maybe free healthcare is something that we should have, and it's a huge benefit. And in other countries where we in Canada get that, so it's getting people to finally have a mindset shift, which I think is really important for us as a global community.
Yeah, but it's kind of sad that you have to kind of face such a situation, such a grave situation, to realize that, oh my God, we didn't have this and we should have had this long back.
I agree. I think that, but when you look at all the, progressive things that change, for example, when women got the vote, they were going through a lot of really tough times because, that the world was completely, men-centric, and they controlled everything, and women were being repressed. And then you look at the rise of other people when it comes to like people of color or LGBTQ, and they went through a lot of stuff historically, systemically, and still do. But even back then, when they finally rose up to try to make change. So these global shifts take some pretty stark situations for people to finally step up and rise up and try to make change happen. Same with climate change. Now you're seeing a huge uprise in climate change activism. And I don't know how late it is, but like it takes a lot for people to step up and do it and unify around the cause.
Absolutely, that's true. And talking about women and inclusion at workplaces, right? What kind of situations do you really see when it comes to inclusion at workplaces and really having the gig economy, as we call it? Do you see that inclusion at workplaces?
Well, I think a lot of diversity, inclusion, and representation is a big initiative, and Canada is actually well known for their diversity initiatives. As a society, we are a very diverse society. In Toronto, where I live, it's just incredibly diverse. So we're pretty good at that. Although there's still a lot of work to be done because one, there's lots of gaps for different types of people that we don't really think about. Number two, there's certain things that are systemically ingrained in our systems, business and societal, that we have to shake. And three, there's people out there who are still in complete denial about what's going on. They don't see the things that are out there. So there's a lot of work to be done for sure. But I think in Canada, we're doing a pretty good job of it. But it's also an opportunity because, especially even now, like during a pandemic, if you have an employee who would come to work and let's say they're deaf, how are you including them in Zoom calls? Because in Zoom calls, it requires the audible thing. So like, are you able to have a translator? Are you able to have like someone doing sign language? Like you have to make those accommodations. You have to think about those things when you create training. So when I create training online, I have a video course on personal branding, but there's no subtitles. I should probably add subtitles because I haven't thought about that from an inclusion perspective, because at the time when we created the program, I wasn't thinking of those things. But now we have to think of those things more and more and make it part of our mindset in terms of how we do things. So I think that there are things that we can do better. One could be to do just a full self-assessment of how our diversity inclusion is going right now, given the current circumstances. And then number two, what kind of plan can we put in place to make it better? Part of it comes from talking to your audience, talking to your community, talking to your employees about what they see and what. And also the other thing is looking at diversity inclusion experts who can give some insights into what companies and organizations can do better to be more inclusive.
Right. And what about millennials? Now, there would be growing ranks of millennials going forward, and a lot of them would also be unemployed because of the pandemic. So how are leaders supposed to cope with that situation, and how are they supposed to treat millennials?
Well, whether you're millennial or Gen X or Gen Z or boomers, I think that number one, we have to support all of them given their needs. The difference, of course, is that millennials make up an incredibly large proportion of the workforce. And number two, they have their distinct values. So I think the first thing is to understand the impact of millennials in the workplace and how they need to be supported. And then knowing what their values are and how they are, we need to support them in the manner that works for them. Now, the good news is that millennials are digital natives. So I think that they actually can be people that we can rely on to be at the forefront of innovative digital solutions around getting through what we're going through. And so I think the best step is to reach out to them right away and say, listen, how can we implement your knowledge and your sophistication with technology and trends and things like that and creativity that we can leverage for our company and our workplace? And I think that whether you're a boomer or a Gen X manager, you need to be open to that conversation. Listen, you can help me out, because I know even in my team, I have some really amazing people that do some great work that are young. Like just yesterday, actually, two of my team, they're both millennial. Well, they're on the cusp between millennial and Gen Z, but they made some really cool videos to promote our company, and they sent me the link, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I didn't know you could do this. This is so cool. And they came up with a really great plan. And so, but, the reason they did is because I was willing to empower them. I was willing to give them autonomy. I was willing to say, just go for it and try stuff, experiment. It's okay to fail. I create a culture where failure is acceptable as long as we learn and grow from it. And I think that if you can create that environment for young people, millennials and Gen Z, I think that that's going to really empower them to do far more than you realize.
I think all generations to come together and collaborate, especially at this point in time, we really need it.
Yeah, I know, I agree, and I think that, but I think at this point, now millennials, the oldest millennials are now 40, so I think this is their time to take over and really demonstrate leadership, to take a stand and really make things happen, because they're at a point now where they're probably at senior levels. They probably have some income. They probably have they've built a business, whatever it might be. They now have an opportunity to really create some really incredible impact for everybody.
Absolutely agree with you. And on that note, my final question to you: if you have any other important sound bites that probably you'd like to leave for our viewers.
Wow, sound bites! I can go on forever about sound bites. Yeah, it's hard for me to think of one or two specific ones. The general thing I will say is that this time right now is a perfect time for us to address our values. And so, values and what we care about. And so I actually encourage everyone, you have some downtime, you're at home. It's a perfect time for you to work on yourself. So that means, I'm going to take that shelf back there and organize those books, because, I haven't done that, and I should do that. I'm going to work on my health and my fitness to try to get more, eat better, live better, try to be more healthy, exercise, 20, 30 minutes a day, and see if I can make some impact there. It's a chance for you to look at your personal brand and figure out, what are my values? What are my personality traits? What are my interests, skills, and passions? And maybe I can revamp my LinkedIn profile, because, once this thing ends, there's going to be a huge recruiting thing going on. Yeah. You need to get your personal brand up, your online presence better, work on your personal brand, start doing content, writing blogs. I think that's so important for people to start doing that. Learn as much as you can, build up the systems and processes to really hit the ground running when things start. Because when things start to get back to normal, there's going to be people that are going to take a while to get there, and other people are going to be ahead of the curve. So I think it's important for people to be ahead of the curve. The second thing I'll say from a tip is be mindful of your mental health. We don't know, we've never experienced this before, so we don't even know how this would affect us mentally. So I think it's important for us to do a mental check. Maybe check out some apps that are good out there. There's an app I use called Resili, another one called Calm. These are things that help us, get a better mindset around what's going on. I think it's important for us to always have that mental health check in with ourselves. I think that's really important. And then number three, I'm going to reiterate this one, like just call people. My wife was just telling me the other day, it's like, oh, I'm worried about my sister and my sister-in-law, and I'm just call them. Like, what are you waiting for? She's like, yeah, but she has to it has to be she has to book them in advance and send an email and say, hey, can we do a call on Saturday? I'm like, just pick up the phone and just call them. And if they're there, great. If they're not, leave a message. And it's not that but people are just so trepidatious or cautious about doing that. But I think in this time, just if you feel like calling someone, or even if you don't feel like calling someone and you know someone is alone, just pick up the phone, call them, FaceTime them, just chat with them, whatever, just send a message, because I think everyone can use that now.
Absolutely, and technology has made that so simple for us.
Yeah.
It's ABC,
Look what we're doing. We're talking across the world and doing this.
I know, literally, ends of the world, and we can still do this. It's so beautiful, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and thank you for those tips. It's very important to keep yourself engaged at this point in time, to keep a good, sanity level, to keep yourself engrossed in different kinds of things. And from the hiring perspective, you're right, candidates now should be well versed with what they're doing, increase their knowledge base, because I think a lot of recruiters are just going to ask this question that, hey, what was it that you were doing while coronavirus was striking us? So,
right. What did you learn?
Yeah. What did you learn? Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, Bobby. I had a wonderful time conversing with you, and I really appreciate you sharing your views with us. And I'm sure it's been enriching for a lot of viewers, and for me too personally. So thank you so much.
No, thank you. Delighted. And, I love what you're doing, and I'm happy to be here. And if people have questions, reach out to me anytime.
Absolutely. I'll keep in touch with you.